Good morning, everyone. Very, very nice to be here. Truly honored. Thank you for having me. So I've titled this talk, I Love You, The Emotional Conundrum of Artificial Intelligence, A Journey to Coexistence. A few years back, I watched a Korean documentary called Meeting You. Some of you may have seen it. In one part, a mother named Chan Chae-sung dons a virtual reality headset and slips on touch-sensitive gloves. She stands in a film studio just outside of Seoul. Cameras surround her, and she's going to speak to her daughter. Her daughter, Na-yoon, is dead. She had died of blood cancer 4 years earlier when she was just 7 years old. Using artificial intelligence, a child actor, and family photographs, the documentary's crew recreated Na-yoon in virtual reality. Their wager: by bringing Na-yoon to life in VR, her mother might be able to say a final goodbye. "Mom," Na-yoon says in the virtual environment, "did you think about me? I miss you a lot." "Mom missed you too," Chae-sung responds. "Mom, please hold my hand," Na-yoon says. Her mother does, using the VR gloves. Tears trickle down her real face. For a long while, Mom plays with and talks to her daughter. She hosts a birthday party with seaweed soup, one of Na-yoon's favorite foods, and their whole family light birthday candles for her on a rice cake. The technology provided a complicated emotional experience. After taking off her headset, Chae-sung told the documentary crew that while her virtual Na-yoon did not always seem like her real daughter, her own feelings, her longing, her anguish were genuine. She characterized the experience as a wonderful dream. Some psychiatrists called this a dysfunctional form of grieving. Even the documentary's director said he was unsure whether all of this was ultimately healthy for Chae-sung's grief. With technologies like virtual reality and artificial intelligence rapidly growing and improving, these kinds of existential and emotional questions are of increasing importance. With AI in particular, might it create new ways of coping with complicated grief, as with Chae-sung? Might AI help solve war, poverty, disease, environmental disaster? In theory, there is no limits to its possibilities. But as the documentary's director wonders, are technologies like AI also something of which we should be wary, particularly in the space of our emotions? Widely adapted technologies have historically courted controversy. As president of NYU and having worked in education for 30 years, I've certainly seen firsthand how innovations can become flashpoints for broader arguments. Take the humble calculator. Computer too. Instructors once feared eroding their students' math skills. In the early 1970s, one survey showed that nearly 3/4 of American middle school teachers were opposed to their use. Today, of course, it's hard to imagine a math teacher banning a calculator. On the contrary, they're required purchases, ever present on a math student's desk. Far better to teach one how to use the technology, the thinking now goes, than to eschew it. I'm also a filmmaker, and similar debates arose in the history of cinema and photography. With the invention of the modern camera, there was the perceived potential for ruining the ancient art of living in the moment, not to mention the corruption of older art forms like drawing and painting. Indeed, it was less than 50 years ago that the Museum of Modern Art in New York had its first solo color photography exhibition by William Eggleston. And as the mother of a video gamer, this is for all of you sitting on the floor in the front, I've witnessed a similar trajectory there too, from contentious to mainstream. Across much of the world, it was not that long ago that video games were socially divisive. On one side had it that they were rotting our children's brains, isolating them, laying the groundwork for violence. Proponents, however, said that games bolstered logic and problem-solving skills, improved decision-making and attention to detail. Some parents forbid them, others encourage them, and yes, the debate continues today. When my son was just 9 years old, he told me he wanted to come to Korea. It wasn't for the food, it wasn't for the architecture, it wasn't for the history, it wasn't even for K-pop. Nope. He told me Korea is where the best gamers are in the world, and those were his heroes. So together we came here and visited more PC Bongs than I can now count. For those who don't know, PC Bongs are gamer dens where Korea's world champions are born. That was nearly 20 years ago. In the public discourse, games are often presented as an either-or proposition, black or white, good or bad. But as with AI, this debate mentality masks a necessary nuance. In the case of games, while they struck some as isolating, I needed only to watch my son run into a PC Bong to collaborate with others, to make friends, and to begin a shared virtual journey to see how they could also create community. The truth is, since at least the invention of Gutenberg's printing press, meaningful innovation hits opposition. It should, and it must. Anything that has the possibility to change the world needs to be seriously engaged with, talked out, and viewed from every angle. I have no interest in arguing for or against artificial intelligence. That's neither my area of expertise, nor is it what I consider the most important conversation we need to have. Instead, I want to explore what is at the heart of AI, the inherent shortcomings of machines and their virtues, the conflict between artificial and emotional intelligence, and the journey to coexistence. Undoubtedly, AI has the potential to change the world. By next year, global investment in AI will reach around $200 billion, according to Goldman Sachs. The International Monetary Fund estimates that 40% of jobs worldwide could be affected by AI, a majority of which will be white-collar roles. In my line of work, and surely in many of yours, that's a significant disruption and one that deserves deep consideration. But AI is a wide-reaching innovation that, to put it lightly, is also mixed. That is in part the reason why so many nations and entities have put forth visions for how it might be best regulated. From the Vatican's Rome Call for AI Ethics, a pledge signed by IBM, Microsoft, and others that emphasizes transparency and security that must guide AI developments, to Korea's very own Digital Bill of Rights. His Excellency President Yoon has provided valuable foresight for our future digital society. Still, it is a joy to list off AI's accomplishments and possibilities. In medicine, AI can assist with cutting-edge gene therapies and antibiotics. In the study of history, AI can interpret ancient scrolls and paintings. In mathematics, the most complicated equations can now be simplified and understood anew. In climate studies, the intricate movements of ice caps can be tracked and analyzed. Yet, artificial intelligence is not free of hallucinations, the nonsense it sometimes offers. There are many such examples. Let me offer a few. Google's AI recently set Reddit forums aflutter when it suggested eating one small rock a day when asked about ideal rock-eating habits. Plus, on a more serious note, the energy required to run certain AI systems is so massive that its environmental impacts need to be seriously contemplated. And its abilities don't always meet expectations. This summer, McDonald's abandoned its AI, McDonald's, we all know McDonald's, right? Abandoned its AI-powered drive-thru after several failures. It misheard 260 chicken McNuggets when a customer ordered a dozen, 9 iced teas instead of 1, and my personal favorite, adding bacon to ice cream. There is much to be learned that remains to be learned. An article, for example, in Nature published this summer found that humans can beat a supercomputer in the popular strategy board game Go. One of the researchers concluded that while this may show that humans may retain important cognitive advantages over AI, more so, he said, it demonstrates that we do not fully understand the AI systems we build today. It's too easy to get swept away in AI's potential, or the opposite, to become totally dismissive of it, certain that it's all hype with little substance. Pop culture tends to be of little help here. Movies and novels often depict AI as either straightforwardly useful or straightforwardly destructive. In Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey, HAL 9000 is an evil AI overlord. So too in The Terminator, where artificial intelligence in the form of Skynet, an autonomous hegemon, sets out about to destroy the human race. Sometimes there's greater nuance, where we become persuaded that machines could be emotional substitutes. In Kazuo Ishiguro's best-selling novel, Clara and the Sun, the protagonist, Clara, is an AF, or an artificial friend, to a sick human. In the film Her, Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with an AI virtual assistant named Samantha. In both, questions of loneliness are balanced with what it means to have an intimate relationship. Too often, I find these subtleties are missed in favor of more sweeping claims. AI is the future, AI is the apocalypse. To look beyond, to dig just those few layers deeper, is the task of any academic worth her salt. At the core of the debate, there is much to mine and learn from the history of man versus machine. Consider the cotton gin. That technology promised productivity and reduced labor. Becoming so efficient, however, the cotton gin ended up not reducing labor needs, but highlighting demand for enslaved people to further increase profits, leading to slavery's spread. Or, during the Second World War, when some Nazis were suffering from PTSD after shooting so many Jews, they invented gas chambers and cremation ovens to emotionally distance themselves from their mass murder. More efficient, emotionally distant, and cheaper, these killing methods by way of machine help separate the killer from his actions. My great-grandmother was a victim of this trade-off. She was murdered in a mobile gas chamber in Mali Trostenitz. So machines can often become our reapers, not our saviors. Indeed, it seems increasingly clear to me that our worry should not be what AI might do to humans, but what AI might allow humans to do to other humans. Shannon Valor, a philosopher and consulting AI ethicist at Google, has grappled with the question of virtue. How do humans decide on their virtues, cultivate them, and act on them throughout a lifetime? For example, we might want to love people more or be more generous. As humans, we work on this every single day, perhaps even for our whole existence. AI systems, however, have no such concept of virtue. If a large language model, Valor says, if a large language model says, I've missed you, can that be true? Valor appropriately says no. AI has no concept of emotional truth to betray. In time, Valor worries, as do I, that the more we permit virtues like love to be superficially presented by AI systems, we'll forget what real love is. She argues this is already happening. Ultimately, it's our choice whether we continue to give AI systems this power. AI, Valor argues, quote, can devalue our humanity only because we already devalued it ourselves. As a therapist and filmmaker, and now as president of New York University, I've seen in each of my roles the possibilities of artificial intelligence. I've also seen what's at stake, emotionally calling us to align our technologies with their psychological limitations. In psychotherapy, for instance, AI assistants can advise therapists in real time on how to speak to their patients. Large language models are able to search and analyze psychotherapy sessions, suggesting missed opportunities to a therapist working with a patient. One value that continually arises in therapy is reflection. Neither a therapist nor a program can spit out an answer for a patient. Even if they did, the patient would not be able to properly act on it. The patient must arrive at a fresh understanding of the problem all on her own. This is done through months, sometimes many years, of painstaking exploration of the self. The therapist's job is to be the patient's guide. Machines may help with this, but any progress must be founded on the emotional work of the patient and taking the time they need to reflect and to heal. At NYU and the Korea Advanced Institute for Science and Technology, we're currently seeking funding to design a robot that might assist school-age children who are experiencing difficulties in the classroom. With too few social workers to tend to students' needs, the idea is to provide a struggling student with a companion after a disruptive episode and to help in diagnosis and personalized intervention. We know that a high-functioning robot cannot replace a human social worker's touch, or the work a student would still need to do not to repeat their behavior. But we hope that it could provide a modicum of comfort and support to children in distress, which in turn could better position them for the hard work ahead. Even as a filmmaker, I've seen how AI can predict box office profit and success based on script analysis. Analyzing screenplays, a tool called ScriptBook, correctly predicted whether a movie would make a profit 86% of the time. Perhaps even more relevant, however, is the question of the quality of the emotional experience of watching a film or series. I was recently consumed by the Korean drama Queen of Tears. Yep, truly. Where the filmmakers used AI to create backgrounds out of whole cloth. How many people in the room knew this was AI, the background? Okay, very good. One producer declared that creating this background was beyond human capability. As a viewer, its impact was emotionally extraordinary. But as AI technology advances in filmmaking, where entire movies might one day be made by AI, there remain key psychological questions to be asked and answered. I've directed several films on difficult topics, including the Holocaust, teen suicide, the value of interfaith relationships. These required my subjects to trust me as a director, trust that I would understand their perspective, trust that I would tell their stories faithfully, generously, trust that is built through a uniquely human relationship that even Samantha the AI assistant in the movie Her couldn't produce. How to grapple with this emotional paradox lies at the heart of this new dawn. I call on all of us to move beyond the superficial pro and con debate, infatuation, or panic. We need to focus on the emotions, the subtext that AI itself does not yet understand. What kind of society do we want 10, 50, 100 years in the future? What are the problems we'd like to solve? How do we balance AI and EQ? What is the journey to coexistence, as this conference is so appropriately titled? I stand before you today as a therapist, a mother, and as the president of one of the largest private universities in the United States of America. I am, like all of you, witnessing in real time the myriad ways artificial intelligence has begun transforming education and the globe. NYU supports the work of many leading AI researchers, including Professor Cho, who is here. He's sitting with the kids. Last September, NYU held a digital vision forum moderated by Professor Liao, sitting here, discussing these very issues. Shannon Valor, the philosopher I mentioned earlier, was also present at our conference. We are all placing our trust, how's this for a little pressure, in these great minds to focus not only on the question, what might AI do, but also, who do we as humans want to be? More than anything, I believe we must hold tight to the virtues that make us human, the relentless desire for peace, our incredible capacity for love. At the end of Chae-Sung's time with her daughter, she was offered the opportunity to return to the virtual environment. As much as it moved her, she declined. "I still have things to do, and when I'm done, I will be with you," Chae-Sung said to her daughter. "I love you." Thank you.